Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching this video, it is I. Yes. It is me, Brennon, here again with another edition of, I don't know what I want to call this. I got the Ray review. I've got the rap recap. I used to have the Ran rundown, RIP to Navy, and now we got retroactive green. So I don't know what I want to call this yet. I don't know if I can come up with a witty name for how to review and to go over what I see happening in the league. But for now, just for your awareness, for your understanding, I'm going to go through all of these rosters, 16 teams in retroactive green. See how you all did with your drafts and with your preseason wire moves. Look at your rosters and assess who should make the playoffs, who will miss the playoffs, who's going to finish last, and who has the potential to win a championship. We're going to start with the team that I technically own, but I'm not using. So for those who are not familiar, I am the commissioner of retroactive, all of the retroactive leagues. Excuse me. However, I'm only participating this season in retroactive purple. Got a lot going on as I presently speak. Wanted to take some burden off of my workload and only participate in purple this year. Nevertheless, there is another owner who is occupying this roster, and his name isn't it Jordan? Yeah, it's Jordan Parks. Jordan Parks is actually the commissioner of another league in which I participate in. So those are my only two leagues this year. If you've done IDP for any length of time, you know that doing two leagues is really enough. But last year I was not only participating in 4 leagues, all of the retroactive leagues and Fish, but I was also the commissioner of 3 of the leagues. So that was just too much, particularly again with other life considerations. So shout out to everybody who's participating in green this year. I appreciate you, Jordan, one of those people who also brought in some other owners to kind of assess their talent, see how good they are, see if they can actually hang with the retroactive way of playing. Crash Out Express is the name of his team. Looks like he had a solid draft, as he has with most of his drafts this fall, or the drafts I've seen him have. He's been big on Travis Hunter. That's going to work well for him in terms of the flexibility going in the receiver slot or in the defensive back slot if he so chooses. Defensive backs are solid, so it's not necessary, but it's an option. So having that optionality, barring injury, definitely works in Jordan's favor. Olave in the flex, Nico Collins starting, good receiving core. I like the receivers. Running backs, solid. I think Jonathan Taylor might be a little overhyped. A little bit, even though Daniel Jones definitely gives him more of a boost than Anthony Richardson ever did. Can help lighten the box a little bit more. It reminds me of the offense in Minnesota during Adrian Peterson's record-breaking season. I didn't realize he had 5 20-point games. 1, 2, 3, 4. He had 5 20-point games last year. I stand corrected. I think he just had a really quiet season because of how bad Indianapolis was, or how inconsistent they were, I should say. Because they still made like a playoff run last year, if I'm not mistaken. But neither here nor there. Good starting running backs. Tua, serviceable quarterback. The offense is really good here for Jordan. Linebacking core is really good. Jordan Brooks, Roquan Smith, Quay Walker. Defensive line left a little bit to be desired. He invested in the Carolina defensive line, which is an interesting choice, considering Carolina still might finish last in the division, even though they should be markedly better. and then Yaya Diaby. So I think he just sacrificed the D line for great players at the other position groups. Having Levante David and Pete Werner in your defensive flex is a flex. To go with the defensive backs that he has in Cameron Bynum, Nick Cross, Deron Bland. So I think he has a playoff roster. Definitely the ability to win the division. Solid backup in Trevor Lawrence. Both Trevor Lawrence and Tua are ish or get off the pot players, quarterbacks this year. So one of them, I believe, will ish in that metaphor and have a good season. Then have Joe Mixon coming off of IR in October. Yeah, this is a division winning roster without seeing any of the other 15 rosters and a championship contending roster. Going to the rest of the rosters here in the Evergreen division. Welcome to Retroactive. B. Dougie with the Snuggie. Bryce Douglas, I believe this is Jordan's cousin. He started off with a good draft, at least on the offensive side as well. I mentioned in a previous review video, not too high on the Bears, any one Bear player on the offense, just because of how they all can cannibalize each other. So that's the only reason I'm not the highest on Swift. However, I love his talent and his potential. So to have him as a number 2 back is a really, really good. And then a proven one in Josh Jacobs. That's a good start to the lineup. Josh Allen at quarterback, the best quarterback in fantasy last year. So I like the offense. Terry McLaurin as the wide receiver 1, Cooper Kupp as the 2. Jake Ferguson should have a bounce back year in Dallas, but he might be competing with George Pickens for targets. Thielen could get a lot of run in Minnesota, at least to start the season, alongside Justin Jefferson since Addison is suspended. And then Jerome Ford in the flex spot as a flex back. Really, really good offense. Good defense as well. Surprised to scroll down and to see this, to be honest. Micah Parsons, Danielle Hunter, the linebacking core. I love this team. So there will be competition with Jordan for the division championship, but at the least, this is a playoff roster. I believe this is a playoff roster. I still give the edge to Jordan just because of what can happen during the course of a season and me being familiar with his management. Not familiar with Bryce at all, but from what I've seen through this draft, the roster that he's put together, this is definitely a playoff roster and a division contending roster, if not a championship contending roster. I'm gonna still give the edge. I'm gonna give. You know what? I might give the edge. I might give the edge to Bryce out the gate. I think Bryce, by this roster, could win the division. This roster. Now, Jordan will have to make some moves. I mean, going just off of familiarity with Jordan, I think he can make the moves to win the division, but off of the draft and the offseason, the preseason, I would pick Bryce to win the division with that roster. Now, let's see if there are other teams that can make me eat those words. Welcome to Retroactive, James Collins. You have not changed your team name. That's a red flag for your management skills. It just gives me pause of whether or not you're going to be the owner that you were recruited to be. Had a solid draft on the offensive side. Good running backs, good receivers. Garrett Wilson, whether he'll get enough touches and targets with the offense in New York, that's a big wild card. But you got him as your number 2. Jacoby Myers in the flex, solid. Rashid Shaheed. So you got a solid receiving core. That's a really good offense. Really good offense. Evan Ingram should get used a lot in Denver. Really good offense. Really good defensive starts with the linebacking core. Warner, Wilson, and Tranquil. Defensive line is okay. I thought that was Dexter Lawrence. That's DeMarcus Lawrence. Marcus Lawrence, I don't know. Defensive line is okay. Jonathan Allen is not the Jonathan Allen of old. So there's potential for the D line, but as it stands, they're okay. They're okay with a high ceiling. Defensive backs solid. So you got a good squad. Definitely a playoff contending squad. I would say a fringe wild card team. I don't know for sure if you'll make the wild card just off of management, not knowing your management style or ability. You got a decent bench of guys. You got a decent bench of guys. You got a decent bench. Have Hollywood on the bench, and you got Freiermuth and Trenton Simpson. I don't know. I'll say a fringe playoff team, fringe wild card team. I don't have high hopes for this roster. One, off of the team name, and two, off of just the absence of participation in the league chat and in the draft. I think I had to ask several times if he was actually going to be present at the draft, and without responding, just showed up to the draft. So he managed to put together a really good offense. Two tight ends, and Laporta and Hockenson, Micah Pittman in the flex. Zay Flowers, okay as a number 2 receiver. Tyreek Stevenson, how long he'll hold on to his starting spot at running back remains to be seen. But Bijan and Jalen Hurts can definitely carry this team. Now, they'll carry the offense, I should say. For whatever holes may exist on the offense, Bijan and Jalen Hurts can make up for it. However, the defense. Whether it's first year doing IDP or not, this defense ain't going to get it done. The linebackers alone are just not good enough. Deion Jones is not a starter. Denzel Perryman and Akeem Davis-Gaither are marginal fantasy starters and really more like defensive flex linebackers, but not starting LB1 or LB2s as he has them listed. Bradley Chubb, solid pick at D-line. Trayvon Walker, it could go either way in Jacksonville. If they play with a lot of leads, you can see a lot more games like the one in Week 5 against Indy or Week 1 against Miami. If they don't get a lot of leads, then you can see a lot of games like the 4-point dud against the Jets or the Lions in Week 15, Week 11. So I'm not high on the D-line. I think Bradley Chubb is going to have to carry that. And defensive backs are okay. They're good. I'm not gonna say okay. They're good. Got good defensive backs, but not depth. The defensive backs, they're readily available on the wire. It just doesn't look like a lot of attention was really given to this draft or to this roster. And again, could be first year doing IDP, but there's just work to be done. There's work to be done. Rashad Bateman got a new deal in the offseason, so he's a good receiver to have on the bench. I don't think offense is going to be the issue with Rashee Rice here. You're going to have plenty of offense. You got to address the defense. There's going to have to be some trades that are done. Why you have Jelani Tavai on your bench is beyond me. I don't see why. I mean, he's an okay linebacker. He had 2 20-point games last year. But or in your IR, I should say. Having him on the IR is interesting. But yeah, you're gonna have to do some trading. This is not a playoff roster. It's not a competitive team either, so you definitely should change this team name because that's not accurate. So that's the Evergreen division. I've got B Dougie with Snuggie winning and Jordan getting in on the wild card out the gate. Let's go to the Dinero division. Get that dinero. Yeah. Michelob United, a.k.a. Eddie Whelan. Welcome to Retroactive, my brother. Looks like he had a decent decent offensive draft. Sorry, I'm turning the volume down on the TV. Decent offensive draft. Puka as a number 1 receiver. Trey McBride. Patrick Mahomes, who's been down in fantasy, but still top 12 fantasy quarterback or on those fringes. Josh Downs, Jaden Higgins in the flex spots, I think Daniel Jones starting for Indy helps Josh Downs out a lot. And I think Jaden Higgins will be helped out by the recent news of Christian Kirk with this hamstring sprain. Hamstrings can be tricky. Jaden Higgins was drafted where he was drafted for a reason. So I think he could end up moving into that or competing with Devontae Smith for that wide receiver 2 spot. So you got a really good offense here. 2 running backs that are a little questionable. Chase Brown only had a half of a season starting to prove his mettle in real life or in fantasy. And J.K. Dobbins was not brought in to Denver to be the long-term solution. Although he was brought in after R.J. Harvey was drafted. So we'll see how that goes over there. Nevertheless, really, really good, high ceiling fantasy offense. Defense is okay. Milano, Henley, Greenlaw, he stays questionable, which after that injury in the Super Bowl is unfortunate. When you follow up one lower leg injury with another lower leg injury, or leg injury, I should say, that's shaky. That's shaky at best. So I would have avoided Greenlaw, but to have him as potentially your starting linebacker is not something I would be that confident in. Zeller, Van Ginkel, and Grenard. It's a solid D line. That's actually a really good D line. You're heavy into the Vikings D line with Grenard and Van Ginkel, and they should play with a fair amount of leads to get a fair amount of opportunities to pin their ears back and hunt after the quarterback. So that's actually a smart strategy. And you got good defensive backs: Antoine Winfield Jr., Justin Reed, Trevon Merrick. No complaints there. Will McDonald in your defensive flex spot and Cole Holcomb in your defensive flex spot is interesting. There are other players out there, and as I mentioned in my other review, the Ray review, stuff like this right here, where you got Brandon Ayuk in your bench, and he is clearly not going to be eligible to play until October. Same with Jalen Carley's right here, IR eligible, and they're both sitting on your bench. That makes, with it being September 4th, the eve or the day of opening kickoff of the NFL season, stuff like this makes me think you're not paying attention, or you're just not going to really be on top of your rosters. You're going to kind of be reacting to roster news rather than being proactive. So for that reason, I was ready to give this roster a playoff grade, but I think your management of your roster, you've got some room to grow. There are going to be some things you need to learn, and you're going to probably just learn the hard way. So I think this is a playoff potential roster, but I think the management of the roster is going to make them miss the playoffs. Probably going to be like finishing around number 10 or 11, maybe number 12 in the league overall, especially in this division with other fantasy veterans, retro veterans, like CJ Matthews, who's been around since the very beginning of retroactive, going back to the 2013, 2014 era. Solid draft. Went with Saquon, James Conner, Austin Eckler. Great trio of running backs, A.J. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce. Big on the big offenses, productive offensive players. I love Marvin Mims in the flex, Justin Herbert. The offense is great. I think that's a great offense. Great balanced offense. You got your top dog guys. You got your speculative guys. I think it's going to be a really good offense. Great defense. Aziz Al-Shahir, Demario Davis, Frankie Louvu. The defensive line is okay. I think New England is really going to shock some people, especially on the defensive side. So I don't mind you investing in their pass rush or their D-line. Granderson is a solid producer. I don't think he's a great fantasy producer, but he's solid. He can have those, the 21-point games. But for the most part, if he hovers around 7 to 10 points a game, anything over that is a cake, especially as your third defensive lineman. So the D-line is okay. Defensive backs, really good. I don't know too much about what Chin is going to do with the Raiders as a Raiders fan. I like him over there, but I just don't know about fantasy production. Not saying he won't produce, just I don't know because it's third defense in 3 years. Jaquan Brisker, Grant Delpit, enough said. Dax Hill, Trayvon Lawrence in the defensive flex. This is a playoff roster. It's playoff roster. Cam Taylor-Britt on the bench. Higbee on the bench. Jerome Baker on the bench. Ray McLeod. You got a decent bench of support. Why you have Justin Tucker on your roster is beyond me. I don't even know why you want to be near that dude after what came out about him. But, to each his own. Playoff roster. I will reserve judgment on the division until after I look at Hitman. The defending retroactive yellow champion also participating in retroactive green to support some of his recruits and to also, bring them along and teach them the ways of retroactive, and also to try to win another championship in another league. Had great drafts in every league he's been in. Unfortunately for me, but fortunately for him, he's had the number 1 or number 2 overall picks in all 4 of the drafts of the leagues I'm familiar with that he's in. And he went Jamar Chase with all of those picks, and his draft strategy kind of followed suit. So he was able to get the stack with Joe Burrow. Really good running back tandem in David Montgomery and Tyrone Tracy. JSN as a wide receiver 2. I was really big on Tyler Warren coming out of school this year. Good starting tight end. ATN in the flex, same for me in another league. Stephon Diggs. So the offense is really, really good. Really, really good. Defense starting with the linebackers, Nick Bolton, Cashman, Okereke. I love that. Jonathan Cooper, Highsmith, Karlaftis, solid D-line. This is a division contending roster with Petrie in the defensive backfield with Amani Hooker and Aloe Gilman. I like this roster. I'm big on Ion Manor. I'm not going to say too much about him. If you haven't already picked him up, I've got him in every league I'm in. I think he had really good chemistry this preseason with Cam Ward, but I will just leave it at that. Isaiah Likely, wild card in that Baltimore offense. So it's a decent bench stash. Harrison Smith, a great backup defensive back for the defensive backs you already got. This is definitely a playoff roster. I have to look again to see. I might lean towards him winning the division just because of that Burrow Chase stack, but I really like CJ's roster too. I'll come back and look at that at the end. Welcome back to Retroactive, Kyle. Easy work is what he thinks y'all are. All you other teams who are watching this video, he thinks that way of your team. So let's see if that's reasonable based on his draft. Just at a glance, it's not. Invested in 2 Titans, which again, I like Ion Manor, but I like one piece of the Titans offense. To get 2 pieces, which you did get their 2 best offensive players. Still a little shaky, to be your running back 1 and Tony Pollard. Kyron Williams, well, your running back 2, I should say. Kyron Williams, your 1. Very touchdown dependent in LA. I like the receiver stack, the receiver tandem you got in Mike Evans and Amon-Ra. Chubb could turn out to be good for you the first part of the season, but you're going to have to find some running back help or some flex help after October starts. Kyler Murray is solid at quarterback. Really, really underrated fantasy quarterback. Linebackers might need a little assistance. Defensive line, I don't know if you just decided, hey, I'm gonna do what the commissioner does, but going TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, you got the best D line in retroactive green already. So that definitely can boost you. Some weeks where you might be missing out on linebacker production, and you got really good defensive backs. This is one of the better rosters I've seen you have, Kyle. I'm not going to lie to you. This is one of the better rosters I've seen you have. I know you said the last time you were in retro, you were dealing with injuries and just poor performances that kind of wrecked your season. This is a chance to prove that right. And you're off to a great start with this draft. I think you can definitely compete for a wild card spot. The thing I think hurts you in this division is the absence of solid line, like more solid linebackers. Not saying they're not solid, but they're probably C grade. They're average linebacking core, or a little bit below average. But every other position group, bro, is there. The defensive line is great. You have, I think, the best defensive line in green, and I can go out on that limb without seeing the other rosters. Really, really good defensive backs, particularly with Love and Byard. And you got a decent offense. I think the offense is a little shaky at running back. Your flex players are a little shaky, and your linebackers are definitely shaky. So for that reason, I would say you got potential to get in a wild card, but man, your division is going to make it difficult for you, particularly with these two owners right here. So we'll come back to the dinero division. Let's going to keep it going to the toxic division. We've got, why'd I call it toxic? Oh, like I guess like toxic slime, or I don't know, whatever. You know, like in the cartoons, they have the toxic barrels with the green, whatever the green liquid is, the poison, or what's it called? They like burn your skin. Acid, the toxic acid. There you go. I don't know. Anyway, multiple scoregasm, probably my favorite. Well, second favorite retro team name. It's another one in yellow that I really like. Glock Purdy. Glock Purdy has the title right now, but multiple scoregasm is number 2 right now. Shout out to Davin Haymore, aka Boss and King, in the Discord chat. Welcome to Retroactive, brother. Looking at the roster, you got CMC first round, Drake London, DK Metcalf. So you like big receivers. Darren Waller at tight end, speculative, but I like it. I'm a fan of Waller. I think he's gonna do some underrated stuff in Miami. Having George Pickens in the flex is not wrong. It's not bad. Cedric Tillman, I was big on him last year. So you got some solid receiving help. RJ Harvey as your RB2. It's speculative. We'll see how that goes. Blake Corum and Kendre Miller at your 3 and your 4. So it's almost like a running back, a zero running or a hero running back strategy with CMC. But for CMC to be your hero is just, man, with his injury history, I don't know. But you got enough receivers to compensate for that. Just got to make sure you have some kind of handcuff to CMC. You know, if you can get Brian Robinson Jr. or Garendo or somebody. Dak Prescott a quarterback. I think you got a solid offense. Linebackers, you got Sherwood and Dotson. Trey Hendrickson, Phillips, Young. Defensive line is okay. Baker, Nixon, Devin Witherspoon. I think you got an okay roster. You got a competitive roster. To me, and this is not being disrespectful, it's just being honest from what I've seen over the years, this looks like a 6 or 7 win roster. Could creep up to 500 and go 8-8, or not 8-8, 7-7. 7-7 could get you into the playoffs. So it's not, again, not to be disrespectful, but something about this roster just is yelling at me 6 wins. And it's more so because of the shakiness of the defense, the linebacking core, and the D-line, and the defensive backs, if I'm being honest. Devin Witherspoon is a really good corner in real life, one of the best corners in real life. Fantasy-wise, I mean, you can see it can go either way. A lot of double-digit performances, especially down the stretch, without getting interceptions, so he could definitely be involved enough. But I don't know. I'm shaky on the defense, and I'm really shaky on the offense outside of the starting receivers. It's a high ceiling, low floor team. Got a high ceiling, low floor team. So for me, I think that's around between 11 and 13 finish, finishing 11th or 13th overall in the league out of 16 teams. But it could, again, go from 6 wins to 8 or 9 wins. It could go. It's right in that middle range. I'm going to go with the former. I think it's going to be a team that misses the playoffs. Justin Flowers, J Flow. Very boring team name choice. Very lazy. But Cowboys fans, Eagles fans, I'm learning are a lot alike when it comes to their fandoms. It's just whatever, what you see is what you get. I digress. Welcome to Retro Bro. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb makes sense. Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, good running back tandem. Cortland Sutton at receiver 2. So I really like the offense. Jared Goff has been a solid producer in fantasy and real life. Abuka and Pearsall in the flex both work well. It'll be interesting to see how much they contribute once Brandon Ayuk and Chris Godwin return, respectively. But for now, to get you out of the gates in the first 4 weeks, good flex receivers. And Jonnu Smith might be a sleeper in Pittsburgh, although I've never known Aaron Rodgers to really target his tight ends throughout his career like that. So I don't think that's going to really change now and potentially his final season in the NFL. But Jonnu Smith is enough of a talent to where it would make sense for him to change now. Nevertheless, doesn't impact my overall view of the offense. Really good offense. Really good linebacking core and Landman, Roseboom, Quincy Williams. DeForest Buckner at D-line. Josh Hines Allen, Josh Sweat. I think that's a solid, high-ceiling defensive line group. And defensive backs are good as well. Invested heavy in linebacker. You got your 4 and your 5 in your defensive flex spots, which I'm a fan of. If you can get 5 starting linebackers all in the lineup, I think that's personally the best approach. I really like Evan McPherson in that Bengals offense. So to me, it looks like a playoff team. It's like a playoff roster. Abdul Carter is a sleeper at defensive line, which could definitely boost you. Replacing either Sweat or Hines. I mean, you just rotate them in depending on the week. Rome Odunze on the bench. I mean, yeah, this is a playoff roster. Definitely a playoff roster. I really like Jalen Ramsey. He's going to kind of play that star position in Pittsburgh. This is a playoff roster. Now, is it a division winning roster? Remains to be seen. We'll look at these other 2 teams. I already know from looking at this team right here that it's probably not division, but definitely playoffs, wild card. John Wagner, welcome to Retroactive. Bobby Boucher. It was nice to meet you. Part of the Uber gang. I get a lot of riders from my time driving for Uber who are interested in fantasy. I invite them to the leagues. He's one that's shown to be quality thus far. Let's look at the team and see if that's consistent with his actual draft. First time doing IDP, if I'm not mistaken. Start off with Jahmyr Gibbs. You got Kenneth Walker, Matthew Golden, Ladd McConkey, David Njoku. Offense is okay. I don't know what's going to happen with Golden in Green Bay. I know they drafted him first round for a reason, so we'll see if the target share actually reflects that. Baker Mayfield as a starter. I think he's like number 4 in fantasy last year. He had like 4,000 plus, like 4,800 yards. Really, really good year. So the offense is okay. I'm not going to say it's great. I'm not going to say it's really good. It's okay. I'm iffy on Kenneth Walker III just because of injury history and the system. And I'm iffy on Matthew Golden just because of his competition, even though Christian Watson is hurt and other receivers have strong injury history. Njoku, he really liked playing with Joe Flacco, so I think that's a really good spot for him at tight end. Not sure why Ali Gordon II is in your starting lineup. I mean, is there nobody else? Addison is suspended. Okay. Godwin, he should be on IR, but he's not. Brenton Strange, Brayshaw Tootin. Man, you don't really have anything else. But when Godwin and Addison come back, for sure, upgrades for this offense. So the offense is okay with the potential to be really good. Defense, as I anticipated, it's not okay. it's not okay. You got solid pieces in Wagner and Zaloni. Servassier Dennis should not be in anybody's starting lineup, even though he is starting for Tampa. Nate Hobbs, I can tell you right now, as a Raiders fan, he's not going to stay healthy. You might want to look elsewhere for a defensive back to replace him. Nwosu, same. I've had him on previous rosters multiple times. He is a health risk. So you got a lot of speculative choices injury-wise that you either should consider trading away from or looking for replacements on the wire. Jermaine Johnson should not be in your starting lineup as a defensive flex. If you're going to start him, it should be D-line, and even with that, I just don't think it's necessary for what you already got. Get you a defensive back or a linebacker. But to have two starting defensive ends, to have two defensive ends, I should say, starting in your defensive flex, that definitely leads me to believe it's not going to be a playoff team. Now you could surprise me. You could, start throwing some trade offers out and hit the wire and really upgrade the team. But as it currently stands, this is not a playoff roster, and it's not a fringe wild card roster. I think this is going to be a bottom four roster with the potential to be relegated or finish last. Unfortunately, some moves to be made. There's potential here. It's not just all the way bad. It's a lot of potential. You got a couple decent linebackers. You got Brian Branch, Carlton Davis. So you got pieces. You got pieces all around, offense and defense. But as of today, this is a bottom four roster in the league. And of course, and I don't say this lightly. I don't say this to poke fun or to antagonize anyone. But this is the greatest champion in the history of Retroactive as it currently stands. 3-time champion, the only multiple-time rap champion in Retroactive history, or a multiple-time champion of any league in Retroactive history. Cortez Jackson, a.k.a. Tez 3 times. Who Are You is a witty team name only because he is entering into Retroactive Green, not really needing to, not with anything to prove, but just wanting to switch it up. So he's looking at y'all like, well, who are y'all? To my 3 championships, who are y'all? And as I assume the draft follows suit, never really been a big offensive drafter. It's usually players he acquires throughout the course of the season through trades. But the offensive draft was okay. Debo and Jalen Waddle as starting receivers, okay. High potential. Derrick Henry at running back, Aaron Jones Sr., solid number 2 running back. Jaden Daniels, great starting quarterback for fantasy. Khalil Shakir got down last season. Darnell Mooney started to get down towards the end of the year. Colston Loveland is speculative in that Bears offense. It could go either way. I don't know how the targets are going to be distributed there. But Tez's calling card historically has always been defense. Leveraging defense for offense or just having good defense in general. And this year doesn't look any different. Zach Bond, what's his name? Edgerrin Cooper and Zaire Franklin looks like the best linebacking core in Retroactive Green thus far. Solid defensive line, Dante Fowler, Greg Rousseau, Quentin Williams, and solid defensive backs. And you got the defense. Let me slow down. The defensive flex, Jihad Campbell, the rookie. I'm really high on him and Edgerrin Cooper both as in this season, and Xavier McKinney as a 4th defensive back. This is probably the division winner. He's got stuff on the bench that could play out for him down the road. Quinshon Judkins, Keaton Mitchell as a handcuff to Derrick Henry, really smart. Josh Palmer, I think, has an opportunity, and this is just me thinking out loud. I'm a Florida State fan. I like Keon Coleman coming out of the draft. I did not like what I saw last year, and I think it's going to be shaky this year. I think it is. And I think Josh Palmer is going to have more opportunities than people think. So that could actually play in the Tiz's favor. Kaiser White is on the practice squad for the Titans. He might end up starting. Demarion Overshown could end up returning and starting. Malachi Starks could end up or should be starting. So a lot of support for the defense, along with support at running back for the offense. Zach Ertz as a backup tight end. I mean, this is the division winning team, and this is a point blank period. Division winning team with Jay Flow's team competing for a wild card. Could push for the division, but I think Tiz might have like a 2-game edge on the division. But these are both playoff teams coming out of the toxic division. And finally, in the neon division, we've got the Hound, another rap champion in Kevin Grabowski, quality owner to help raise the competition level in this league. He had a solid draft, as I already know. Don't really have to think too much about it. A couple question marks, questionable health players, but I think that'll get resolved. He's always been big on Devon Achane, so that's going to be his number one. Looks like he went with a hero strategy as well, with Braylon Allen being his running back too, and then got Trey Benson and Chris Rodriguez Jr. So hero strategy. Teteroa McMillan, Brian Thomas Jr., solid starting receivers, both young, speculative, only second year for Brian Thomas Jr., Teteroa, rookie. So it could go either way, but the potential is high for both of them. And the big play potential is high for both of them as well. Drake May at quarterback, Kincaid at tight end, Keon I was just speaking on, might end up getting replaced in the lineup here. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a really, really good third receiver to have on your roster. I think that he could end up fulfilling his potential this season, but even if he doesn't, Kevin's not really missing much in that flex spot. Who's the other receiver? Dante Thornton Jr. I'm really big on him. Looks like he's going to be starting since Amari Cooper just retired. Lord have mercy. If you don't know how I feel about Amari Cooper, just we can talk about it later. But receivers are properly supported. He went with a hero strategy, so he's not concerned about running back. The receivers will carry the weight for the offense. So I think the offense is okay. I think it's okay. I think it could be better, even at receiver. I think there could have been better choices, but I think it's okay offense. Defense, solid. I really like Demetrius Knight Jr., especially in that defense, unfortunately, because they can't stop nothing in Cincinnati on the defensive side. So he'll get a lot of stats off of that. TJ Edwards, Fred Oluokun, really, really good linebacking core. Max Crosby, Aiden Hutchinson, Jared Verse, one of the best, if not the best, D-lines in retroactive green. I'm big on Minka, always have been. I'm big on Derwin James, always have been. Tyler Nubin, one of the best defensive backfields or safety cores in retroactive green for sure. Kenny Moore, always been good fantasy player, and that slot corner position. Tyke Smith, playoff roster. Simple as that. This is a playoff roster. Ivan Pace Jr. Should be projected for more points, but for whatever reason, he wasn't drafted high in any of the leagues I'm in, and he's not projected for a lot of points. So unless I'm missing something, what I saw last season from this dude, I'm not sure why he's not more highly touted in fantasy or in real life. He's good, and I mean on film too. I've watched him in real life. Like, he's a really good backer. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Sanborn, might have to go ahead and let him go unless you're banking on one of the other linebackers getting hurt because he's not starting. This is a playoff roster. We'll see if he's going to take the division. Looking at the other names in the division, I would say yes, but I'm open to being wrong. The Midwest Chain Gang, a.k.a. Reese, welcome back. Now listen, I'm going to be honest with you, brother. It's been some really rough seasons in the past. I know it's a lot been going on. Life happens. I get it. My hope is that this roster will be one of the better ones you've had. Off to a good start so far. I see T. Higgins. I see Omarion Hampton. I see Rashad White. Even though Rashad is not starting, I think he'll still get some run down there in Tampa. DJ Moore. I see that. I see Mark Andrews. Dallas Goedert. I see Dallas Goedert. Romeo Doubs and Rashad White. It got me nervous. But you got Lamar. So the offense is okay. Offense is okay. Move needs to be made at running back and or the flex position. Running back and or the flex position should be some moves made. Really good linebacking core. Caden Ellis, Ernest Jones, Patrick Queen. Solid defensive line. I'm really high on Lenny Williams. I always get him in every league I'm in. I try to. Nick Benito. Jeffrey Simmons. Okay. Defensive backs are okay. Brandon Jones, Byron Murphy, Xavier Woods. Jermaine Pratt could be what he was in Cincy in Vegas. I'm not sure yet. I'm just not sure how the defense is going to shake out in Vegas. It's all new. So, still uncertain. But yeah, this is okay. It's okay roster. Competitive roster. You're going to have to make some moves for sure. Trey Harris might step up for you and become a starter. But other than that, the bench is not the best. It's not the best bench. I don't know. I think this is a competitive roster. Looks like a not a bottom four team, but one of those first four teams out of the playoffs. So like a 9 through 12 finish. This looks like a 9 through 12 finish. Could take it down to the final few games of the season and compete for a wild card spot. But you definitely have to make some moves in order to get in that wild card. Until then, I am going to say missing the playoffs, like a 9th to 12th place finishing roster. There can only be one. Now, this is a setup for a lot of fantasy fodder. I mean, Kenny, I'm glad that you're back in retro, but what only one what champion, last place finisher. Bust. I mean, it can only be one what? I don't know. But looking at the draft here, Malik Neighbors, solid. Jerry Jeudy, solid. CJ Stroud, solid. I don't like your starting running backs, but I'm just, even though I'm a smaller guy in real life, a smaller football player throughout my life, I've never been big on the smaller running backs. Smaller in height and weight. Like you can't be short and slimmer. Just in terms of fantasy production and overall long-term production throughout the season, it gives more of you're a complimentary back than a feature back. And in fantasy, I'd rather not have my starting two running backs be complimentary backs. Even though Jaylen Warren is the bona fide starter in Pittsburgh, Travion Henderson could end up being the bona fide starter or the number one in New England. I just don't see them getting enough touches or enough work between the tackles to sustain them being number one options. I think they're more like big play, situational type of players. That's my opinion. I'm open to being wrong. Travion Henderson, I really like coming out of Ohio State. I love the playoff run that they went on and the last couple of games I saw him in. So I do think he's a good player. I just don't know if he's a number one running back in the NFL or in fantasy. But that's how you got him listed. So we'll see how that goes. Brock Bowers at tight end covers a lot of those potential holes in the offense at running back. Keenan Allen, Xavier Legette, both speculative flex receivers, but getting them in the flex is good. So it's not much lost if they don't pan out. Ventrell Miller, Kenneth Murray Jr., Omar Speights. I don't like none of those linebackers. I don't like the linebacking core that you got. You got Myles Garrett, Nolan Smith, Will Anderson. That's a really good defensive line. All on winning teams except for Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett creates his own opportunities, so it's a lot of opportunities for sacks and big plays. So I like that D line, and I like the defensive backs are okay. You got BJ Hill and your defensive flex. That's crazy. That alone is what's making me, is what's kind of confirming my suspicion that this is not a playoff team. Now, Nakobe Dean he should be in the IR. Why you haven't put him in the IR yet is interesting, but yeah, this is not a playoff team. It could be competitive, but given your history as a owner and as a manager in fantasy, Kenny, I'm not really high on what you doing anything to get you out of the hole that you're in. You're really banking heavy on your receivers and Bowers and Stroud. And I don't think that's going to be enough in an IDP league where you need to have solid defensive play. Your linebackers are not strong enough. Your defensive backs could be stronger, and your running backs, they're kind of like the key determinant of whether you're going to get in the playoffs or not. I'm going to say no for now. I don't see it. You got 2 kickers on your roster too, which is that's absurd. You got 2 kickers on your IDP roster. That's Luther Burden could turn into something, but I mean, again, that whole Bears offense is a big question mark in terms of who's going to get opportunities, touches, who's going to be featured. So it's just uncertain. All of those reasons lead me to say that this is not a playoff roster. And then finally, the 16th team to touch on, Ryan Stevens, aka Mr. Diabolical. I forget if he's from League Safe or if somebody else recommended him. My apologies. Really good offense. Right out the gate. Justin Jefferson, Jameson Williams, James Cook, Pacheco, Nix, Kittle. Really good offense. Jaden Reed. Jordan Mason should not be starting for you, but that's a little bit of a red flag. But nevertheless, really, really good offense, if not a great offense. That's a great offense. I'm going to say that's a great offense. Really good linebackers. Cody Barton, Terrell Bernard, Cody Schwessinger. I'm really high on him for the Browns. D-line is okay. Dorrance Armstrong, Cameron Hayward, Tui Pelotu. It's an okay D-line. Really good defensive backs. Jesse Bates, Blankenship, Metellus. It's a really good team. Really good team. Got Maris Luafu. I think you got a little lucky with him to be your 4th starting linebacker. You think you got lucky because I don't think you knew he was going to start, but good grab. So you got a really good team. This looks like a playoff team. Looks like a playoff team. Kyler Gordon on the bench. Caleb Johnson could end up starting. He's kind of what I was saying about the Jaylen Warren in Pittsburgh. Christian Kirk could end up providing some depth to Houston down the road. That hamstring injury really hurt him out the gate because he should have been a starter. But you never know. He might end up getting some opportunities the second half of the season. This is a playoff team. I'm convicted that this is a playoff team. I really like the balance of the roster throughout. I was thinking I was going to just say, oh, this is a really good offense or a great offense, and then it's going to be a mad defense. But no, you surprised me. You You made some really solid picks. Jesse Bates, Metellus. Hey, this is a playoff team. Now, is it going to win the division against Kevin's roster? That team that Ryan Stevens has could potentially win the division. I think it's 50-50. Now, me having the familiarity with Kevin and the Hound that I do, I would give the edge to Kevin to win the division over Ryan just because of management of roster over a 14-game regular season. But Ryan could surprise me. Not only could have the draft that he had and the preseason that he had of getting talent, but could make some moves, some trades, some acquisitions off the wire that could sustain this talent level throughout the course of the season. I'm open to being wrong. I'm going to give the edge to Kevin to win the division all throughout the course of the season. But I would not be surprised if Mr. Diabolical wins the division. Either way, both of them should make the playoffs. So, let me see. I've got Kevin winning the division. That's 1. Ryan Stevens, wild card. That's 2. Tez winning the division is 3. J Flow, wild card. That's 4. Did I say that Kyle was gonna make the play? I think I said Kyle was gonna miss the playoffs. Man, a D line though. Did I say he was gonna miss the playoffs? I don't know. It just depends on how Kyle manages roster. Depending on how Kyle manages roster. This is a playoff roster. This is a playoff roster. This is a playoff roster. I think I'm gonna give the division. I'm gonna give the De Niro division to. I'm gonna give the De Niro division to Harrison. Man, CJ got a roster too. The D line. The D line. I think it's going to be between CJ and Harrison. This is another 50-50 to me. Yeah. Man. Burrow and Chase makes me want to give the division to Harrison just off of Burrow and Chase and Warren and JSN. But man, and the linebacking core. Oh, I think that would be a really good one. But man, looking at Connor and Barkley and AJ Brown and Kelsey and Eckler and Herbert and Davis and Al Shahir, I'm gonna give the division to CJ by a narrow margin. By a narrow margin. Yeah. I don't really dislike this roster either from Eddie. I don't dislike Michelob United. That's also one of my favorite team names in retro, Michelob United. I'm going to give the Death Dealers Inc. the division. I say that's division winner. Harrison is going to get in a wild card. Kyle could get in as a wild card. That would be 7 teams. And then I said that B. Dougie with the Snuggie he's going to win this division. Did I not? Uh-oh. Where'd it go? What did I say about Jordan's team? Nah. Did I say Jordan was going to win? I can't remember if I said Jordan would win the Evergreen division or not. But I'm going to get it. I'm gonna get an edge to Jordan off experience. I'm unsure about Kupp. I'm unsure about Ferguson. I'm unsure about Thielen and Swift. But Jacobs and Allen could really lift the offense along with McLaurin. But just off of experience, I'm gonna give the division to Jordan. I'm gonna give the division to Jordan. And then I think B. Dougie with a Snuggie could get in as a wild card. I'm going to pick Kyle and Easy Work out of the De Niro division over the B. Dougie with a Snuggie out of Evergreen division. I think Kyle will do enough to get that final playoff spot. So I got Kevin, Ryan, Tez, J Flow, Harrison, or CJ winning De Niro, Harrison, Kyle, and Jordan. Those are my 8 playoff teams. I'm going to reserve judgment on picking who I think is going to win it all, at least for this video. I might put it in the chat or just save it until later in the season. But that's all I got for y'all today. Make sure y'all like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate y'all participating in Retroactive Green this year. I hope you have a good season. Make sure you hop into the chat, throw your trash talk in there, your predictions, your conversation about the games, and other stuff that you like as far as fantasy goes and real life football. I love y'all. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Enjoy the games tonight and beyond. And I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.